The more we have added sugar in our diets, the more our taste buds adjust to things just tasting sweeter than they need to. Hey, I'm Lisa, registered dietitian, and today we're gonna talk about the 5 biggest mistakes I see people making with added sugar. Now, added sugar does taste delicious, brownies, chocolate, ice cream, but most of us eat far too much. The recommendations for added sugar from the American Heart Association are no more than 6 teaspoons a day for women and no more than 9 teaspoons a day for men. Now, those are pretty strict. The Dietary Guidelines recommends that no more than 10% of your calories come from added sugar, which is about 12 teaspoons on a 2,000 calorie diet. However, most of us eat 2 to 3 times that, with the average American getting about 17 teaspoons of added sugar a day in their diet. So don't worry, I'm not here to take away your dessert. I am not that kind of dietitian, but I am here to show you how to fix some of these common mistakes I see around eating added sugar. So mistake number 1 is not knowing what it is, right? You can't eat less of it if you're not even sure what added sugar is. So added sugar is the type of sugar that we add to foods. Sounds like a no duh, but there's over 60 different names for added sugar. So when you read a food label, it can be a little bit confusing. You might see sugar, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, glucose, invert sugar, agave, maple, honey, the list goes on and on. So a great way to tell how much added sugar is in a food you're buying is to flip over the label, read the ingredients, sure, keep an eye out for those words for added sugar, but also check the nutrition facts panel itself. It will list out total sugars and added sugars, which is relatively new and a really easy way to see how much sugar has been added to a product that you're buying. Now, the difference between natural sugar and added sugar and why natural isn't a big deal, there's no limitations on that, is because natural sugar is found in very healthy foods like fruit and dairy. So fruit has some fructose in it, but it's also packaged up with fiber, with nutrients, antioxidants, and it's really hard to overconsume the sugar found in fruit. Same goes for milk. There's a little bit of natural sweetness in milk and yogurt, but you're not gonna be consuming 60 teaspoons the same way you might in a giant serving of soda. So natural sugars have those nutrients packaged in, and added sugars are the sugars that we're adding to foods to make them sweet, and it's just a lot easier to overconsume those added sugars. Another mistake I see people making with added sugar is cutting it out entirely. It's very easy to get trapped in this black and white way of thinking that if too much added sugar isn't great for our health, that none or zero must be the absolute best amount. But what actually happens is when we restrict like this, we're more likely to crave those sugary and sweet treats. And when we do finally eat them, we're more likely to overeat or binge on them. So instead of going all or nothing on added sugar, I encourage people to look for ways to reduce added sugar in their diets and still allow room for those sweet treats. We all deserve to enjoy dessert once in a while, so it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Now, I want you to enjoy sugar in your diet when you're conscious of it, is people focusing on refined sugar free. And what that means is it might be sweetened with maple or honey or agave. And while those sweeteners certainly have unique taste profiles and they do have some nutritious properties to them, you'd have to consume them in really high amounts to get the benefits, and your body still processes them in almost the exact same way. So while I'm from Vermont, I love maple syrup on my pancakes, it's still adding sugar to your diet. So be mindful of added sugar in all of its forms. But another mistake people make with added sugar is they end up eating it without even realizing it. What I mean by that is lots of foods that we buy at the grocery store have added sugar, but they're not sweet foods. So foods like bread, crackers, yogurt, pasta sauces, salad dressings, I want you to flip them over before you buy them and check those labels for added sugar. In my opinion, I'd rather enjoy added sugar when I know I'm really going to enjoy it, when I'm eating a cookie or having some ice cream, versus having it sneak into your diet in all these other savory foods throughout the day. That just eats into your added sugar limit, and you're not going to really taste and enjoy the added sugar. The other thing is, I definitely want you to eat it and not cut it out, but the more we have added sugar in our diets, the more our taste buds adjust to things just tasting sweeter than they need to. So it can be helpful to cut it out in foods where you're not really gonna notice it, like those breads and crackers. So again, check those labels, make sure you're not getting it in throughout the day, and exceeding your added sugar limit before you've even gotten to the point where you're having a sweet snack. Speaking of enjoying your added sugar, a big mistake I see people make with added sugar is feeling like they have to feel guilty for enjoying dessert or having something they're really craving, right? The guilt and the shame associated with eating sweet foods isn't doing anyone any benefit. Guilt can actually lead us to feeling like we should eat more of the food or like we want to ban it from our diets, and again, can lead to those overeating, binging, just feeling down. You absolutely have permission to enjoy a brownie, enjoy a cookie, enjoy some ice cream without the guilt on the side. It's really important because what I find happens is people take just a sliver of cake, they feel so bad, like they shouldn't have done it, they go back for another sliver, another sliver, another sliver, and they end up eating a much bigger piece of cake than they would have just served themselves in the first place. So if that sounds familiar to you, don't forget to just cut yourself a portion, sit down, enjoy it, and then move on. A big added sugar mistake I see people making is drinking way too much of it. So almost half of added sugar in Americans' diet comes from beverages like sweet tea, sodas, fruit drinks. That's quite a bit, and liquid calories aren't satisfying. There isn't a lot of nutrients, if any, in these beverages. So I'm hoping we can work to cut down on the added sugars that we're drinking, whether that's in a coffee drink, a soda, or something else. Few ideas: try sparkling water, seltzer with a splash of juice. Try drinking unsweetened tea or cutting down on the amount of sugar that you're putting in your tea and coffee, so you don't have to go straight to 0. But if you're used to 2 or 3 teaspoons of sugar, maybe try 1 to 2 and keep gradually cutting back from there. Regular water, of course, makes a great beverage, and diet sodas can even be a nice swap if you're looking to reduce the added sugar that you're drinking to go from regular to diet. I hope you learned something about added sugars and are ready to start tackling making some smart and savvy reductions of added sugar in your diet without cutting it out entirely. Absolutely enjoy those desserts and sweet treats in moderation and continue to check those labels for added sugar. If you've got more questions about sugar or other nutrition questions, drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get more nutrition tips from me and Healthline.